Hey everyone, today's video is all about understanding the differences between eccentric strengthening and concentric strengthening. Now the reason I'm bringing this topic up is because one of my most popular YouTube videos is a video about treating tendinitis and tendinosis. So like an Achilles tendinitis versus an Achilles tendinosis, a biceps tendinitis versus a biceps tendinosis, a rotator cuff tendinitis versus tendinosis. And in that video, one of the keys that I mentioned to successfully treating tendinosis especially is what we call eccentric strengthening. Now again, it's one of my most popular videos. I'll link it towards the end here if you want to check it out, because it really talks about how to treat these muscle tendon issues, whether it's a tendinitis or a tendinosis, what it means, and the treatment approaches you're going to follow. So again, I won't go into detail here, but I will share that towards the end here, or feel free to search for it after this video. But I do want to explain then, since I threw that out there, what's the difference between the two. So if you're looking to treat your Achilles tendon or a rotator cuff like a supraspinatus tendon or a biceps tendon, what are you going to use and how's that going to work? So I'm going to just explain the difference between eccentric and concentric strengthening today in this video to help you understand the principle behind it. And then I'm going to make some more videos about specifically how to do eccentric strengthening for those topics that I mentioned. So I've got right on my radar right now, I've got the Achilles tendon issue, I've got rotator cuff or supraspinatus tendon issues, biceps, and then tennis elbow. So I'm going to at least cover those four, and if I think of any other ones or you think of any other ones, you know, comment below here and I'll make sure to get to them. So again, let's just keep it on the basic level today. What are we even talking about? So eccentric strengthening, essentially what we're referring to is strengthening involves resistance of some kind. So let's just say we're using a dumbbell for resistance and we're doing bicep curls. I think you can kind of see my arm there. So in a bicep curl, as I curl the weight up, which I don't even have a weight here, but you get the idea. As I curl the weight towards me, my biceps is going to shorten. As the muscle is shortening and I'm bringing that resistance up towards my body, we call that a concentric muscle contraction, meaning that the muscle is just shortening as the resistance is being moved. So that's concentric strengthening. The muscle is shortening. Now on the way down, I have kind of like two options. I can let the muscle just kind of flop and go real fast and not really do much work, or I can do a slow lowering of that weight. Now as I'm lowering that weight and controlling the resistance, my muscle is now lengthening as I'm doing that. So that is eccentric loading or eccentric strengthening. Now the two are different, and the main difference primarily is that with an eccentric load, you can, as your muscles are just trying not to split apart from each other, all those fibers, you can produce a lot higher levels of force than you can with a concentric load. Now that probably doesn't make a ton of sense, so let me explain in a more of a real world example. Probably at one stage in your life or currently, you couldn't do a pull-up. You couldn't grab onto those bars. When I was a kid, I couldn't do a pull-up until I was, I don't know, probably 12 or something like that. Now I couldn't do a pull-up, but if you helped me get up my chin above the bar, I could slowly lower myself. I couldn't concentrically shorten my muscles on the way up and move my entire body weight, but on the way down, I could control my entire body weight with an eccentric set of muscle contractions across various muscles. So that just shows you then, on the way down, as your muscles are lengthening, you can produce more force. I could actually even stop there and hold for a while, and that's a isometric. We won't get into that one today because that'll be a little more confusing. So again, when you're shortening the muscle and moving resistance through space, that's concentric. When you are lengthening a muscle, that is eccentric. Now the primary reason I mentioned eccentric muscle contractions in that other video about treating tendinosis type issues is because it really has a positive effect on realigning muscle fibers. Just to give you a little glimpse of that other video, with a tendinosis issue, you have structural damage and changes to the tendon, and it's thickening and it's got scar tissue and doesn't have very good blood supply. And what the research has shown pretty consistently over the last couple of decades is that when you eccentrically load these muscles, these tendons, the healing impact is much greater because you're producing more force within the muscle. Has a better positive impact on those muscle fiber alignment, has a better positive impact on the blood flow to the muscle, and that's why in that other video, one of the keys to recovering from a tendinosis is to engage in these eccentric contractions. Now, last thing I want to say on the topic before I close it off for now and then make those other videos is that with all strengthening, you want to make sure it's well tolerated. So eccentric muscle contractions, you should be thinking, well, hey, if I have a tendon issue and it hurts, the last thing I want to do is really make it hurt by adding more force to it. And that's a very good thought if you did think of that on your own. So again, keep that in the back of your mind. There's always a fine line to these things. So it's not just like, oh, well, Luke said do these eccentric eccentric muscle contractions and I did them and now I feel horrible. You've got to have some level of understanding on how to start them, how to work your way into them. Because you might very well start with some concentric muscle contractions, especially if that's much more comfortable for a given muscle, which again, I'll explain it in detail in other videos, so we won't get too lost on this one. But again, building up to that point where you can do a slow lowering with an eccentric muscle contraction can have a really positive impact on those muscle issues, especially the tendinosis type ones, which again are quite different than a tendinitis. I'm going to link that one to the end of this video just to give you that background. And in the future, if I don't have it up already, I'll have it up soon. I'll probably make a whole playlist for eccentric exercises for the various types of tendon issues. So that's the video for today. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. Please give me a thumbs up if you did. Leave me a comment or a question below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.